Well, the big issue is not just for Canton, but Mass and Alliance and any other community is where do you get your matching dollars from? As you know, we just debated over the last 3 or 4 months trying to figure out how we can prepare for a roughly $4 million reduction in January. And at the same time, we'd like to come up with another $1 million or $2 million that we can use for demos to get matching funds on. For every dollar we put out there, it gets doubled because of the grant program. So you want to maximize that whenever there's dollars out there.
Right.
But the problem with that is while you're trying to make ends meet in a 6th year in a row of declining revenue, coming up with those dollars is difficult. We can't use capital dollars. So that creates a limitation for us. And the general fund dollars are really the ones that are struggling. If you can't use capital and the general funds are what left, and you can't use economic development dollars because it can't be HUD dollars or government grant money to match grant money.
I see.
So the typical resources we would look at for these types of things would be CDBG monies or capital. We can't use either one of those. And so now we're literally stuck with general funds or maybe going out and getting bonds and then taking those bond dollars and getting them matched by the grant. So that's the trick that we have to do. And while we're doing that, we're still trying to figure out how to cut a $4 million shortfall.
Right.
So it's just very challenging. And, I would be extremely stressed out right now if I haven't done this for 5 consecutive budgets, and now we're the 6th year trying to figure out how to cut millions of dollars. So
you're used to
it's becoming the norm of okay, now what do we do for $2 million here and $1 million there?
Right.
So it is very challenging. But what we're looking at is what's the minimum amount we can set aside for demo monies? What's the maximum amount? And how do we make that happen? And oh, by the way, we may look at setting aside a certain dollar amount today. And then when the changes come in January, if the governor in his lame duck session hits us with the uniformity, or they come out and take the second half of the local government fund, or something like that, what we set aside could be gone just to survive again. So it's really very difficult, if not impossible, to predict where we're going to be come January when it's time for us to actually ante up the money and get this thing started.
So you just may not be able to come up with the matching dollars to take much advantage of this program.
Exactly. Now, if the economy continues to improve, if the governor and the legislature stops taking money from us, if the casino money is higher than anticipated, if the economy continues to grow, our $4 million projected shortfall may be $3 million or 2.5, and if we budgeted for $4 and it's only 2.5, I got $1.5 million now I can use for the demo money. So that's one of the reasons you target $4 million, because if by chance it's only 3, I now have $1 million already calculated for demos, and I can take that $1 million, send it to the county's program, get it matched, and now I have $2 million for demos. And believe me, you could give me $10 million for demos and it wouldn't be enough. So any dollars we get for demos is going to be critical.
Canton's taken down, what, about 500 buildings so far?
I think since I've been here, about 700.
700?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, think about that. Think about where you live. Think about how many houses are on your block. And then think about how many blocks it would take to take 700 houses down. That's a monumental figure. Yet the devastation and plight in our community was so great that 700 is barely noticeable.
So is that 10%, 20%, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's that high. I think it may be in the 5-6% range.
Wow. So you got plenty of demolishing to do.
Yeah, I think we had 25% of the properties that needed to come down, and we're maybe 5% into it. So, we could do another 1,500, 2,000 houses before we're really getting to notice that the problems are being done.
Now, is this match, and you may not know, but is this match imposed by the state of Ohio?
It's the federal grant, the way it was structured when it came to the state and how they positioned it, the way they set it up, it is. I don't know what the percentage was, but the county has $500,000 without a match, and the other 1.8 is going to be with a match.
I see.
And so the board will determine where those dollars go. Let's assume that they get grants from all the different local communities for $4 million, and they only have $2.3 million. Then they would determine on some sort of rationing or appropriating that they would determine who gets what. But let's assume that we put up for $1 million for the city of Canton, and nobody else in the county applies because they don't have any matching funds. Well, now we've got over $1 million sitting there that's not matched, which means we risk forfeiting that money.
I see.
So, it's one of those deals where as a city of Canton, I'd hate to see the county have to give any money back.
Right.
But I don't know that I could come up with enough to cover all of it if nobody else comes up with any.
Right.
So we're going to have to have a real heart-to-heart with council and determine what we want to ask for, and then we got to figure out how to get it.
What do you see Lem Green's role in all this?
Lem, basically, he's sitting on the board. He represents the city as appointed by council, and he's basically there to first gather all the information and bring it back to us like he did today, and keep us updated and communicate with us, and then also take our information as we determine what we're going to do back to them to then lobby and fight for the city of Canton. So again, let's say that the request or the grants from the communities come in, and there's $3 million worth of requests, and the county has $2 million to give out. Well, then Len would be there to lobby and fight for the city's portion, while somebody else is fighting for the Masson's portion or for the townships or whatever. So they would all be there lobbying for and trying to figure out how to divide that money, those monies up. So I don't think that we're going to be in a situation where there's a lot more requests than there is money, because for Maslin, who is struggling to survive,
right.
Alliance, who the only monies they have are CDBG, they don't have a lot of outside money. The city of Canton, who is have declining revenue in the millions. I don't think there's lots of extra money out there in these communities that we're going to be fighting over each other. So really, it's going to be a challenge to figure out how to spend all that money.